care of yourself when you get this online learning to make the place cozy and comfortable for learning. Okay, actually, Yulian is here already, and then I think that we can smoothly go on, start with our lecture, with the lecture about tactical urbanism and its development in the period of COVID-19. And Yulian, you will share your presentation, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, then I think that we can start. Before we start, I invite everybody really to ask questions. You can write your questions during the lecture on the chat, and I will collect them. And when Yulian finishes with his lecture, we will address him all the questions from you. And just if you need any concretization, any stop to ask about a concrete word or etc., just switch on your microphone and ask as well. So please, we can start.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll try to make it more faster because I plan to start half an hour earlier, but I have a little bit of lack of time, but I will try to be maximum understandable. So in a few words about what does it mean tactical urbanism. Say you think your street's a bit of a crappy place to be and want to improve the experience it gives people. So instead of doing options, testing on paper and trying to figure out what will work best before crossing your fingers and implementing it for real in a scale 1-to-1, trialing, get real feedback from people in a real life, and everyone can see what's working and tweak things as you go. Then after a good period of this, you decide together whether or not to keep it informed by rich real life data. This is the tactical urbanism. I want to start with a paradox because the paradox is that we have made loads of rules that say you can't build human scale streets. So in this picture, you see the Sikhiv district of Lviv with such huge areas. And for the first moment, you can think that here is a lot of place for everyone, for people, for cars, for public transport, but it's not the human scale street. So this is the typical example of modernistical approach. And as for me, people there are not so happy as they are in 19th century quarters, blocks in the central districts of our city. Now we are not allowed to build a street of the scale and the thickness that people like to be on. Our codes, building codes, DBN, yeah, adheres to religiously by the road design establishment, say you have to have this width and that amount of parking so this volume of cars can move freely through it. So obviously they need this much space. And people, the point of the cities are literally pushed to the edges, and traffic engineering constrained by these rules has been given the first cut at all our roads and streets. So doing right by the trade, they design according to the rules. It's good if you are a car, but it's terrible for humans, but that's rules we made ourselves from the period of when Second World War finished. We all these decades of years, we prepared rules to make these car-oriented streets. We built places to live that are objectively bad for humans. They suppress our natural physical activity, our ability to know our neighbors, our tendency to walk down to the local shops and drop in and say hi to people. You have to hop in the car to do almost everything outside your property. It was the paradigm which born such situation. You see a fragment of the central street of our capital, Kyiv, Khreshchatyk, and you see a lot of stairs, you see a lot of cars, but the lack of people. And in the first view, you can see the very big sidewalk, but it's occupied completely by cars. What we say we want isn't what we care about. And sometimes the want stuff undermines what we care about. When you ask people what they want to see on the streets or space, or when they come to you angry, it usually happens, about something, it's often more parking, our business are suffering because people can't find a car park, or there's too much congestion, we need more road space, and ask directly whether we want to turn some space that's been used for cars to being only for people, and will invariably say no, we'd lose something important. What do you mean cars aren't helping here? Go away, you're so out of touch. So this is the typical reaction. But what do these angry or worried people actually care about? It's always something bigger. So you can see, you can hear, my business is declining and I'm worried about my livelihood, and it feels like it's all on me and out of my control at the same time. Or I'm spending too much time on traveling, sitting in traffic, that I should be spending on family, friends, work, etc. And those people who said no way to the loss of car space on the street are invariably amongst the overwhelming majority of folks who actually care most of all about public spaces being green, safe, universally accessible, welcoming, clean, easy to park in or drive past in a long way down the list. For example, there were one research work from 3,000 of citizens of Sydney in Australia. We know that this is the American paradigm of very car-oriented cities. And they were asked with 27 questions, and they, in the result, they cared about most in their streets. Ease of parking was the highest ranking car-related thing, and it came in 27th place. So behind a slew of other people-centric values. Greenness, safety, accessibility, welcome, and being clean were invariably in people's top 5 or top 10 answers. So what tasks are of tactical urbanism? It means that making small-scale temporary improvements to build environment. Projects are often low-cost, temporary, and demonstrative in that they show how urban environments can be improved rather than supplying a finished solution. This approach can be hugely beneficial to urban areas, particularly those built many years ago and hugely different, not only to the modern aesthetic, but also today's understanding of how urban communities are created and nurtured. So in this picture, you can see the 4 typical goals. So first of all, we can, if we have huge asphalt area, we can demonstrate to people in real life, in real time, how we can use the street in a different way we used to use the street. Also, we can make the pilot projects or interim design for half a year or a few years to work with and to understand all our mistakes we planned before or made before. And also in the main goal is to change the project in a permanent installation. So first of all, as for me, tactical urbanism, and it can be used for every new urban development approach. So first of all, it's not about the paperwork or design work, it's about the learning together, how to communicate with each other. And as for me, we are now in the time when planning on paper is not enough, completely not enough. And the participation process is as for me, the second name of urbanist. So public participation is the process by which public concerns, needs, and values are incorporated in governmental and corporate decision-making. It's two-way communication and interaction with the overall goal of better decisions supported by public. And the main goal for me of all types of municipalities or moderators is to connect people and to get from them the best solutions and to make them free in their decisions, and they have not to be shy, or they have to feel how they can be the real participant and the real owner of the project of the part of the city or all the city. So it's absolutely common approach in all of the world. As for me, in Ukraine, it's just in the first steps to be like a tradition. So what about world practices? Now I've listened to a lot of thoughts that COVID problem will change our cities. It may be, but actually I have a little bit doubts of this, because I see that during the history of humans, we lived through a lot of pandemics and maybe more angry, more terrible, horrible. But in fact, we have to be ready to prepare our cities for such challenges. And due to the pandemic, many countries are urging their residents to cycle and choose to walk around the city. And the authorities stimulate this in every possible way, and in order to not to spend a lot of money on the construction of capital infrastructure, the city authorities stimulate temporary projects which can be implemented using the methods and principles of tactical urbanism. And it's absolutely natural. You see the fragment of Barcelona street, I suppose maybe the leader of urbanistic approach in Spain, and the new times when we can predict what we'll have in the next day. So it's absolutely natural to use the principles of tactical urbanism to change street or public space and to see how it influences on people and what benefits we can get from this. And one of the most famous examples is the New York Times Square, and you know that I've been there by myself, and I felt this absolutely amazing space with a lot of this advertising, which in all countries associates with some bad things. But here in the center of New York, it seems like a museum of advertising, and it always used both for pedestrians and for cars. You see how it was using in the first picture, and according to tactical urbanism approaches, they try to make the different regimes, and in fact they made a pedestrian square completely when they calculated that the traffic in the streets around is the same as it was before and after. So it's absolutely natural, but for urbanists, and understandable for urbanists, but for citizens, the municipality had to make the real life example, and people understood that it works. So New Zealand, a lot of cities, about 200 cities in New Zealand use this tactical urbanism approaches. They use a lot of colors in their streets and squares, public spaces. You see it. This is the as for me, not, I suppose, the town, old city center, where the absolutely, no, maybe not absolutely, but a little bit boring street became very attractive public space, and for that they used absolutely minimum of budget. So the next is London, which is, as for me, very also oriented with cars, and typical this townhouses street, always covered by cars. And you see in the picture in down left corner, today the average resident street in London provides 2/3 of its width for vehicles, greatly limiting space for other issues. And this is the renderings from the site of Foster and Partners. You know, one of the richest architects in this planet, maybe, and they are providing the blog about urbanistic. So here they said that their vision sees the space transformed, with parking consolidated in empty plots nearby, and the street regains a community focus. This with cyclists and pedestrians prioritized, and the area reclaimed for planting, sitting, and more efficient waste management. And the main London example is the reaction of Jeremy Clarkson. You know this, the leader of the very famous program Top Gear, and he is very angry, and you see what he is saying in his post in Twitter, because he is very angry because before he used to use the street only for cars, and you see how London is, so what policy is now in London. So the Berlin, for Berlin, yes, I think you heard that Berlin cycle lanes have been extended during lockdown to account for this distancing measures and to encourage essential workers to travel by bicycle rather than public transport. So let's look through cases, because the most interesting for me, I suppose, it's about the real cases. So the American experience is you know, I've been to US, and I was not satisfied from the streets I saw. Maybe just the town, the city centers of Chicago or New York, Manhattan, but the typical cities in the US are like this. So you see the oceans of asphalt, and the big areas for parking places, the empty streets, and it looks terrible. And in Asheville, there were one of the very famous projects where 120 volunteers were involved in a common work to discuss how the street can be used in another way, like with another functions, with how to make it more livable. And they decided to make it, you see, like a picture, and they changed the planning. So they leave the parking places, but also they changed the regime for using the street. And you see, they decided to make such butterflies. It's completely forbidden in Ukraine because of our building codes, but there, so they as we see, reached to such conclusion. And I was surprised that in American cities they are going with the almost scientific approach, and they try to calculate the impact of these changes, and they have such mathematical, maybe, value capture, and they try to calculate the economical benefit. So it's about how the property price is going after the reconstruction, how the shops and the commercial activities are going on after this reconstruction, and another numbers, and they calculated together. In this case, they calculated that after this reconstruction, the economical benefit is about 3.5 million of American dollars. So it's unbelievable, but it's true. And also they are very oriented to calculate the results. So the average speed reduced by 28%. The incidence of speeding reduced from 66% to 21%. The highest speed was before 89 miles per hour, and it fell down to 41 miles per hour. So this very low budget reconstruction of street. So you see the results, and it's absolutely amazing is for me. But also such projects can have such interesting result to connect community. When people, every neighbor of this street put something from him into this project, people a little bit become addicted of this street, and they try to renovate, to maintain this street in such because they love it. Yes, so we see that people after winter, they try to cover with the new colors this painting, and they are very interested in it. So another case of I like it very much. So this is the Honolulu, Haiti Islands, and the same American planning approach. So you see a lot of asphalt, so a little bit, as for me, boring facades of the buildings, But in this district, there were the problem that such big distance to cross the street was the problem for primary school, which is situated nearby, and the city with experts, urbanists, decided to change something, and they involved school and children to discuss it, and children with their young age, but they gave a lot of good ideas. Especially it was about design, because Haiti has its own very strong mentality and style, and as you see that children, they used to think not maybe in a logical way, but in a more emotional way, and they tried to, they were working with the two crossings, and you see they made anti-pockets, yes, so to make this distance of asphalt shorter, and they just painted. So they had a lot of different kinds of design variants, and you see how it worked. And I think that it costed very low price, but it's, for me, it's very attractive. So you see the process, and you see how it was before and after. So it's, for me, street became more attractive. So the same here. Sorry, I have to interrupt for a minute. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing that after good examples, so it's always the specialized, the urbanists among the world will say in the question, from what we have to start. So we can start with the very small steps, and it always working good. And this small steps will born the new examples, new needs, and new, as for me, new good initiatives. And you see how a lot of very small, just using the colors and how we can draw the asphalt covering of the street, and how we can use it change it in a few weeks, yes, and that it will have very good result. So how Americans describe the approach. So you see that the same as I mentioned already earlier. So the emergency response, so we can, with just this a few stuff, we can change the planning of the street. The slow reopening, they are thinking from 3 months to 1 year, and the new normal. So when people use that this is the new planning of the street is absolutely reality, and they used to this completely, and the long-term capital from 20 years to 50 years. So the final reconstruction of the street after this previous stages. Actually, you can think that tactical urbanists want to paint all the streets. This is the words of, I don't remember actually, or mayor of the city, or mayor of this district of the city. He said, we are not, sorry. Sorry, I have technical problems. Okay. He said we are not proposing to paint or shut down the street because it can look silly, yes. But in this case, you see that for a short term, in a very with this using of this modeling in real time, you can absolutely change the way of we are understanding the street, the spatial conditions of the city. In a summary, I was surprised that in America and US already 250 cities and more and another 30 countries already used this tactical urbanism approach and changed a lot. So it's just for last year. And about the COVID problem, so the research works and this realizing of all this projects, American urbanists already prepared like a methodology for the recommendations how to organize the streets for that can be efficient with the COVID pandemic problem. And you see the different streets for open streets and for open curbs and shared streets and temporary bike lanes. And the main idea, so nothing changed. Pandemic is for me, doesn't say, so this mistake I always hear that you see that urbanism is not working with the pandemic. We all have to sit in cars because it's more safety. No, so safety. So we have to renovate our street just to make the possibility to make bigger distance between each other, but not about to return to car-oriented streets. And I was surprised that I saw in the organization NECTO in US already prepared such methodological books for municipalities, how to, with the type of policies to consider with the streets for pandemic response and recovery. So it's amazing. So even streets for protests here is, you see one of the points, and actually very, as for me, helpful is about the pickup and delivery. Yes, so always it's a problem how to maintain the commercial first on the zero floor activities. So how to maintain them, and this problem of pickup and delivery is always I see in Lviv and in other cities of Ukraine. And here you can find all these solutions. Very interesting thing. In another absolutely country, in Istanbul, in Turkey, I was really excited to see this project. It's Zumrüttelver Square. It's some very Turkish. So it was the program of Bernard von Leer Foundation that deals with the city and early childhood in Istanbul. With this program, the foundation told the city's administrators and city planners and other participants, it's about the city from 95 centimeters. It means how from the height of the healthy 3-year-old child, what would you, so how this child use the city, and that was the question, how to make such safety space and streets to make it safety even for a 3-year-old child. And this program includes work to improve the design and use of parks and streets for young children and families. And here you can see the square, absolutely typical. I suppose it's only in post-Soviet countries you can see usually this picture, but also you see it in Istanbul. So you can imagine, you can see the young family which is going with child through this asphalt sea, and it's not a square, it's just a parking place. And you can recognize similar situation in your cities, yes. And here is the very beautiful video of the process, how it was renovated. I was really impressed how it works. So unexpected, it's working. Yes. So look for the number of pedestrians. Yes. So how they use this beautiful square, and we see that nothing happened with cars. We see that the budget of this realization was very, if we compare with the realizing of reconstruction of street and so on. So the main idea is to make the real life model, to use it, to feel it, to discuss a lot of questions, and to invite all the citizens to this place, to use it and to get the feedback from them. And actually, as for me, this place is so pretty. So it's a little bit naive, but it's very pretty. And I think it can work in these conditions for a lot of years, and nothing will happen. So I want to finish my presentation with the words of Nathan Coyle. He said that considering the economic crisis that will follow from COVID-19, it's fair to say placemaking activities won't be high on the funding agenda. However, there couldn't be a better time to bring the community together to talk about where they live. Thank you. I'm ready to your questions.
Okay, I invite everybody to do the short discussion of the material which was presented by our lecturer, and to ask the questions about the topic, about the tactical urbanism in general, or about its different aspects or issues, and we can have such a small discussion together. Maybe to so that we can see each other's, maybe we can for a while stop sharing the screen and make a gallery so that we can see people. And if you have a question, just you can switch on your mic and ask the question, or you can write on the chat, or just raise your hand with the Zoom functional, and I will see it and make this queue who is asking after whom, and etc. And while people are thinking about their questions, I hope, yeah, I'm also prepared some questions for you, and it's not even mine questions. We collected the questions from your applications, guys, and there were also several general questions about tactical urbanism, about what does it bring, how we can measure it, etc. I think that we can start from one of them, yeah, and then just one by one who would like to ask something, you can join. So the first question is maybe a bit, I don't know, like not typical one. The question was, is there a non-tactical urbanism? If yes, what's the definition of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. My first meeting with such term as urbanism was in 2014. Before I was I was just an architect, and especially in the urban planning, I saw maybe in an academic way. It was the like a rule when in common understanding the only some very old and clever men can be professors, urban planners. They know something that don't know people, and only they can have the responsibilities to plan the city. And it's a pity because a lot of my colleagues in Lviv and in Kiev, who are the old architects, they are still thinking in the same way. So they don't understand completely the participation approaches, and they always are telling about the ban, building codes, that only they can make this drawing and so on. And the next step for me was that okay, we can use the same specialized, but let's talk about the task for the project, and then we will find the best solution. And the result of this really depends not about the professionalism of the specialized, but about the moderation. So how deeply was the research works were provided, and how deeply, how many people and stakeholders were involved in this project. And I saw a few good projects, as for me, much better than previous ones in Lviv, but they are not they are not exhaustive. Yes, so they are not they don't solve all the problems, because these problems we already understood when the new street, for example, already started to work. And as for me, this is non-tactical urbanism. So it's more about the planning on the paper. So the tactical urbanism is, in a few words, we can say that it's like a preparing of model in a scale 1-to-1. So if you don't use this, so this is not tactical urbanism.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot. Does anybody have any question to Yulian?
Anya, I wrote a question to your chat.
Yes. You can go on with the questions, of course.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. While listening your input presentation, you are first of all urban planner, and you were talking about some solutions in city space. But maybe you have some opinion about public transportation. And my question is, what do you think? Is it possible to plan some tactical steps how to adjust public transportation to the COVID challenges in a city? I mean, how to apply tactical urbanism to the planning of public transportation, and also maybe to the public transportation inside, I mean, buses, trams, and so on.
Well, actually, as for me, the first problem is what we see, that people are restricted to stay in the bus, for example, yes, or tram. So they have to use only sitting places. For that reason, in the bus stops, we see a lot of people which have to stand for 2 meters from one to other. And as for me, the tactical urbanism can be helpful here to make more maybe temporary constructions, some cheap stuff to make the roofs from the raining or the sun influence. So for example, so we can make it temporary and make it with some interesting design and to look how it works. In another way, so we have the example in Lviv where the separate lanes for the public transport, in fact, is working, as for me, good, because you have to provide that if we have this lack of, I mean, if we have the problem with this the sitting places or staying places in the buses, so we have to use the buses twice in the same hour. And for that reason, the separate lanes for public transport is very helpful in this situation. So, and you can use just painting, and you can paint the red lines and to organize it in the existing street.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's an answer. Okay, so we talked about.
Can I add more?
Yes. Pavlo?
Yes, one more issue which quite difficult to turn in fact, but what in theory can be possible is, public transport in general in cities is like buses itself or trams are designed to fit more peak passengers which are standing, and also places for people with disabilities, wheelchairs, shield cards, and so on. And in theory, it could be good to have, say, so fast retrofitting of buses, like adding extra seating capacities, because it's not allowed to stay, and all this, especially I saw one presentation of Warsaw, they say like, why in tram, which is 30 meters long or 40 meters long, but is designed for city where you have a lot of doors, where you have a lot of space for standing people, and in this like 30-meter tram, you have only, they saw 30 seating place, and in 10-meter bus, which is designed for longer distance suburban trips, where you have basically only seating places. So you have 35 seating places. And in fact, it's more space per person in tram and more distance in the tram. But if you go straight by the rule of law, you are not allowed to provide extra people space. In theory, it's very good. Like you just put more chairs inside of public transport in spite of places for standing people, but in fact it's a bit difficult because you know, it's transport device, and it should be kind of certified. It should be ensured that it is safe, that it wouldn't fail or passenger wouldn't fail when driver would need to stop bus immediately, and so on. So, and also it's not really allowed by manufacturers, but kind of one more obvious solution to add to those which Yulian already mentioned, which is speeding up public transport, which is providing more spacious stops where you can sit or wait not very close to another people. This is one more option, if it is possible, but it's hardly possible in places where you should have certification for your bus or your tram or any other transport means. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, would you like to add something?
I understood that it was not the question, yeah, so it's a comment.
Yes, it was a short or not so short addition to your comment.
Yeah,
thank you for explaining quite good.
Okay, then we can move on with other questions. And we have actually several as well. How the tactical decisions can affect the city as a whole, yeah, not maybe just concrete situational cases. And what are disadvantages and advantages of tactical urbanism and its decisions?
Advantages, first of all, is the low budget of realization. So when the space is already working in a new way. So disadvantages, as for me, it's like an experimental way, and a lot of people can be disappointed or angry even because of the new solutions, and this process can take a lot of time for discussions, and always in all cases of public discussion, it's some persons are very unsatisfied, yeah, and also you can make a lot of mistakes during these experiments, but in fact in another hand side advantage is that you can fix it, because when you make the bad project and you realize it with the big budget, you spend a lot of money from city budget, and the result is bad. So this is absolutely so it's already for 20 or 30 years. But the main advantage is for me is that you can fix it. And about the disadvantages, maybe when you have the low budget, the reconstruction of this or building of this model can be not so pretty. Yes, so not all people likes this furniture from the like a previous furniture. Yes, and it looks not so good, and I suppose a lot of people can think that it's it's already, so this is the final view, yes, and people can be unsatisfied. But actually, I think that we have more advantages than disadvantages.
If we already started to, oh, there's a question from Simon in the chat. Yeah, Simon, maybe you can just ask it by yourself, yeah, to make
I can also ask, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned the example in the States with the butterfly drawing in Ukraine that wouldn't be allowed. So I'm wondering what in general is like the legal obstacles, because I also feel that maybe we mentioned the kind of security and the kind of standards. I imagine in Germany there's like a lot of specific standards, how things have to be, and also who's able to do these things. Is it only the urban planners? Is it the city council, or can NGOs and other groups kind of participate in these projects?
Yeah, in fact, this fashion of these different pictures on the roads, on the streets in the US and New Zealand, I see this is like a new, really new fashion, and they're using this very often. And as for me, it's not. As for me, it's not the principle we have to use always, because it's, for me, it's a very discussable question. So when you are a driver and you are getting to this crossing of the streets with all this, with these active pictures on the floor, will you see the pedestrian on this? Yes. So they are saying that yes, so it's very, so it reduced the speed of car because it's unpredictable space for driver. But in fact, when you already use that, this picture is there. So will you see the pedestrian at night, for example, or even the sun, active sun, which is in front of you? As for me, I have a few doubts about this, yeah. But if we are talking about the official way of realization, I think that so we have no law ground in Ukraine, and I suppose in European countries also, to make these things. So I see this fashion is only in US and in New Zealand, so maybe they have some another laws or procedures how the civil servants give the permissions for this. But in Ukraine, I suppose we already organized a lot of pedestrian streets, and so we can make it through the detailed plan of territory and through the voting of executive committee or session of deputies, and we have, so if we do this for some small term, so I think it's just we can use the executive committee permission. But the main problem in Ukraine, I suppose, is to make our civil servants so open-minded to support these initiatives. So the first of all is to born initiative, then to discuss this, to get together all the stakeholders and neighbors, and then maybe the most complicated question is to get the permission from the municipality. In European countries, when I saw, especially in Netherlands or in Germany, the municipalities are very open-minded and open to their citizens. Even in Austria, I saw very complicated cases when municipalities so they have so lot of procedures, and this process is very hard. So I think this pandemic conditions we have will push this process of tactical approaches much faster. So in Ukraine, with this is the problem with official permission, but I suppose we have to start with our initiatives and in the way of new thinking, yes, and then we will solve these problems with officials.
Thank you. And maybe the last question from the group, if anybody has such. Tomorrow we will have more time maybe to deepen in Ukrainian experience, to deepen in German experience, and I think it's also a good time to think about
tomorrow. Yeah.
The day, the day after tomorrow.
Tomorrow we are relaxing.
on 10th of September. Thank you, Nata. And it will be a good opportunity also to discover this, to discuss these nuances, these differences between our cultures, how it's done, how it can be done in Ukraine, how it can be done in Germany, and not only the norms or the possibilities, but also I really motivate you to share your experience. If you have done something, have tried out something from tactical urbanism in different spheres, maybe from the art perspective as an artist, maybe as a planner, as urban planner, as architect, or as a designer, musician, etc. It would be also great to hear your experience here and to discuss it and to reflect on it. And maybe it also will be very helpful for our project in Lviv.
Okay.
If there is no questions, as I can see, so it's your last call for the questions. Okay, if not, actually, I wanted to ask Yulian to say something motivational, or what you can recommend to our team, to our group, how to start, how to initiate such changes in our cities. We will be very happy to finish the lecture today.
Especially the approaches of urban planning in this tactical urbanism is for me the same. So you have to start with deep research work, then with a good discussion, with effective workshop. So be open-minded, so don't be shy. So to give good ideas, and don't think that your idea is worth. So use your creativity as much as you can. So nothing special. So deep research and good discussion always born good results for me. So good luck to your work. So I will support you if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot. It was really nice to hear your perspective, and that you are open for collaboration as well, and for helping us maybe to move on with our ideas. And now we'll have a short, I see that somebody's energy is a bit down, yeah, from after almost 3.5 hours of listening, of working, of being online. Now we would like to make a short group work, and it's really to exchange what you've heard from Yulian about this tactical urbanism, and to somehow to link it to your experience, what you see in your globe, what is in your surroundings, in your cities, in your countries. And for this, you can move in our presentation on the slide number 13. And you'll see here the